Hey everybody, welcome back. We are going to be doing our German short rows today. So we have just finished increasing, like completing all of the increases for our yoke. So we're ready to move on to the next step. So the next step says that I'm going to now work even, which means no increases, keeping the garter panel as set. If your round gauge matches the pattern, which is 22 rounds per 4 inches, then work and then find your thing. So I'm going to work 2 rounds even. So even means you're just doing the full round. So you just knit the full round, but make sure when you come to your garter panel that you keep the garter stitch intact. So remember that garter stitch is knitting one round, and then the next round you're going to purl it, and then the next round you're going to knit it, next round purl it. So you're going to knit the whole round, except you're going to purl this whenever it's time to purl. So when you finish the last round of your yoke, you ended on a non-increase round, which means you purled the garter panel. So when you start this portion, remember that you're going to begin on a knit round for the garter panel. So I'm going to go ahead and start this is my beginning of round, my crazy row counter. And so you are done with increases, remember that. We are not increasing ever again for the rest of this pattern. So I'm just knitting. Okay, so I've arrived at my garter panel, and just to remind you again, everyone is going to start this off by knitting it. Okay, so I just finished that. So the way that I keep track is I write down on a piece of paper like this, purl round, knit round. Okay, so I'm on my knit round. So every time I hit the garter panel this round, I will remember to knit. And then when I get done with this round and move on to the next one, I'll flip my card and then I'll remember that I'm supposed to purl. So I'm going to go ahead and complete this round. This is my first round. Okay, I just finished my first round of my even rounds. So now I know when I get to the garter panel, I am going to purl it. And I'm going to speed up again, and I'm going to finish this row, and I'll meet you back at the beginning of the next round. So at this point, you can go ahead and finish the number of rounds that you need to complete, and just make sure that you keep track of what you're doing with your garter panel, and I will meet you at the point where we're ready to begin our German short rows. Okay, so now we get to switch over to the extra little insert for the short rows. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to place the center back marker. So the short rows are worked symmetrically around the center back of the sweater. The beginning of round marker is currently located at the back right shoulder, just before the right sleeve. We will now place a center back marker around which we will work the short rows. Around which we will work the short rows. First thing, knit to marker, slip the marker 3 times. So remember that your beginning of round marker should already be placed on the right needle before we even start this instruction. So the beginning of round marker does not count as your first marker. So the first instruction we have is knit to marker. So we're gonna knit to our first raglan marker, which is, okay, so for me, these are my garter tab markers. These do not count. We're only counting raglan stitch markers. So my raglan stitch markers on this sweater are all red. I marked them as red, and my raglan, my garter tab markers are white. So these don't count. So starting from the beginning of your round, but not including the beginning of round marker, you're going to knit to the first marker and slip it. So there's my marker 1. And then here's all the way. There's my marker 2. There's my garter tabs, which I'm going to skip. Those don't count. And here's my marker 3. So you'll wind up here at marker 3, and it is the last marker before your beginning of round. Okay, so I'm going to start knitting and slipping, whoops, all of those, and I will meet you at the third raglan stitch marker. All right, so I've knit, I'm almost to my third stitch marker. Okay, now, does it say, and it does say to slip this marker, so I've slipped it. And now just do a quick double check to make sure you're at the right stitch marker, because I know we've got lots of stitch markers here. If you're at the correct third raglan stitch marker, then the next stitch marker is going to be your beginning of round. See that? Okay, so if you're at that stitch marker, then you are ready to go on to the next step. So now it says to knit your number of stitches and then place the center back marker. So my number of stitches, I am 7 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to do 49. All right, I'm going to knit 49 times, and then I'm going to place a center back stitch marker. 48, 49. Now place the center back stitch marker, and you're going to want this to look different than your other ones. So I'm just using this guy. Okay. Now you've now placed the center back marker. Short rows will be worked symmetrically around this marker. Slip the center back CB marker and all other markers as you come to them. So now I'm going to flip to page 2, and we are on short row number 1. On the right side, you're going to knit and then your number of stitches. So mine's 70, and then I'll turn my work. So let's knit 70. All right, I've knitted my stitches, and you're gonna wind up pretty close to your raglan stitch marker, but that is okay. So now it tells me to turn my work. So what you're going to do is, here's my working yarn, you're going to flip this so that you're looking at the wrong side. And I just literally flip it over like that. Okay, so now you're looking at the wrong side of your work, which is all the purls, and the working yarn is on the left needle, which is the wrong side. All right, now short row number 2, WS, which means wrong side. With the yarn in front on the wrong side of the work, slip the first stitch from the left hand needle to the right hand needle this. Just slip it. Okay. Purlwise. I don't know if you saw that or not, but slip it from the left hand to the right hand needle purlwise. Next, pull the working yarn over the right hand needle to the back of the work, then between the needle tips to the front of the work, ready to purl. So I'm going to take this working yarn here and I'm just going to do that. I'm going to pull it tight. See how I just made 2 little stitches by pulling this tight over? And then I'm going to wrap it between these 2 needles and pull it down so that now I'm ready to purl. This distorts the stitch and makes it appear as 2 loops over the needle. This is referred to as the doubled stitch. Now purl to the center back marker, then slip the marker, then purl the number of stitches in your size. All right, so let's go ahead and purl to the center back marker. Okay, I've reached my center back marker, so I'm going to go ahead and slip it, and then I'm going to purl the number that it tells me in my row. So I'm going to do 70. Okay, I've knitted to my 70, and now I'm up against my raglan here again, but that's okay. I'm going to turn my work again. So I'm just going to flip it again. So you're just flipping it so that it's now you're looking at all the knitted stitches, and this is called the right side. Except you'll notice that your yarn, your working yarn, is on the wrong needle, the left-hand needle. Okay, so now we start short row 3, which is on the right side. Now you're going to bring the yarn to the front of the work between the needles. So bring this to the front between the needles. Then slip the stitch from the left hand needle to the right hand needle, purlwise. Next, pull the working yarn over the right hand needle to the back of the work. So again, I'm going to pull this to the back of the work. This distorts the stitches and makes it appear as the 2 loops. Now knit to the center back stitch marker, then slip the marker, then knit 5 stitches before the doubled stitch and turn the work. So now I'm going to just knit with this pulled really tight so that I've got the 2. Okay, so let's knit to our center back marker. Okay, here's my center back marker, just slip it. And now knit to 5 stitches before that double stitch. And what you're going to look for in the doubled stitch, I'm going to fast forward here just to show you. So remember you did the double stitch a little bit before your garter tab stitch marker. So you can kind of see there's a big hole, and if you really look close, you'll see that doubled over stitch. It looks like a mistake. That's the doubled stitch. And then here's that huge gap. And you can see it really well if you pull the stitches down a little bit, then you'll see it really. So we're going to knit up to 5 stitches before this doubled stitch. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right there is where I'll stop. Okay, I'll meet you there. Okay, I'm getting close, so I'm checking again. So here's that double stitch right here. See that? The whole thing I'm counting. So there's the double stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I need to knit 2 more to get there. Okay, I have arrived. Now it wants me to turn my work. So you're just gonna flip it over to the wrong side. Okay, and now we get to start row 4 on the wrong side. With the yarn in front on the wrong side of the work, slip the first stitch from the left hand needle to the right hand needle purlwise. Okay, so I'm gonna slip that purlwise to the right needle. Next, pull the working yarn over the right hand needle to the back of the work, so real tight to the back. Then between the needle tips to the front of the work. So now I'm gonna wrap it around to the front. And make sure it's pulled tight so you can see the two clearly. We're pulled tight here and we're ready to purl. Now it says to purl to the center back stitch marker, then slip the marker, then purl to 5 stitches before the doubled stitch, and then turn your work again. So I'm going to purl to my center back. Okay, I'm to my center back stitch marker. So now I'm going to slip that, and then it says to keep purling up to 5 stitches before that doubled stitch. So let's go find it, just so you know what it looks like again. Okay, I'm gonna follow my way along here to that raglan, or the garter tab, because I know that's around where it is. I can already see it because it looks funky. See that mess right here? It's right there. And then if you pull down, you can really see it. Okay, so it's that guy right there. There's the double stitch. Right here. See the two? And it's kind of pulling this, but this one's a normal stitch right here. So it's just this double stitch right there. So 5 before the double stitch would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to knit to right here. And you can always put a little, you know, safety pin here if you want to let yourself know, but just keep track of that. And I'm going to go ahead and purl up to this point. Okay, I know I'm getting close, so I'm going to double check here. So I can see my double stitch right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need to do one more purl. So I'm going to purl that one. Alrighty, we are there. So now the pattern says to turn the work. I'm just going to flip it over. Okay, now we just ended round 4. Now the pattern says to work short rows 3 and 4, a total of, and then find your number. Mine is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So a total of 6 times. So that we just worked it the first time. So for me, it tells me to work a total of 6 times. So that means I need to do this 5 more times. Okay, so now you are back to short row 3. So just go back to that in the pattern, and it says bring the yarn to the front of the work between the needles. Slip the stitch from the left needle to the right hand needle purlwise. Next, pull the working yarn over the right hand needle to the back of the work. And that's going to distort that stitch. I'm going to pull it tight. This distorts the stitch. Now knit to your center back marker, then slip the marker, then knit to 5 stitches before the double stitch and turn your work. I wanted to clarify one thing for you really quick. So from now on, when you are about to, you're knitting or purling up to 5 stitches before that double stitch, which double stitch? It's going to be the most recent double stitch you've done. So now you can see I've got multiple double stitches on here and they're making all these holes. This one's the first one I did, and then the second one I did was here. So now I'm going to turn my work 5 stitches before the most recent one. So that's this one. So here's my double stitch, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll be turning my work here. And also keep in mind too, as you keep turning your work, each short row you do, these stitches are you're gonna get closer and closer together up in here, so there won't be as many stitches to knit. So just keep that in mind. If that seems weird to you and you're like, wait a minute, I used to have to knit a whole bunch of these stitches to get to my turn, and now I have to, you know, just knit like 1 or 2, or that's how it's supposed to work. So you'll have fewer and fewer stitches to knit in between the turns. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to fast forward to when I'm done with all of my repeats. So I will see you there, and if you need help, just go ahead and repeat short rows 3 and 4 in this video. And I have the chapters marked so you can easily click to short row 3 and short row 4. Okay, I will see you after all the repeats are done. All right, so I just finished my last short row 4 on the wrong side, and I turned my work, so now I'm looking at the right side. All right, so we're ready to move forward. I have already turned my work, and now it says bring the yarn to the front of the work between the needles, slip the stitch from the left needle to the right purlwise, pull the working yarn over the right hand needle to the back of the work. Now knit to the center back marker and then remove the marker. Okay, here's my center back. So now we get to remove it because we are done with short rows. Okay, now it says knit to the beginning of round, then work 1 round purling the garter panel and knitting the 2 loops of the doubled stitches together as 1 stitch. Okay, so we're going to knit a full round. So I've just come up to my first double stitch. See that? So what we're going to do is we're going to knit the legs together as 1 stitch. Now this is the reason why it told you to pull the yarn so far, so tight, so that you were making a double stitch. What you were actually doing was raising these legs really high so that when you got to this point right now, you could easily knit these 2 legs together. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in knitwise behind both of these legs, and I'm just going to knit them together as 1 stitch. Now what happened is by knitting those legs together, it pulled everything back so you can't see that anymore. It's pretty neat. So let's do another one. Okay, I'm now to another one where my legs are pulled really tight, the double stitch. So I'm going to knitwise go into both of those legs So you can see they're in both of the legs, and just knit them together. Okay. And that closes that big gap that you saw too. Okay. Again, now this one's not as good, so I've got to make sure I don't want to go in here. So I'm going to help it out a little bit. I'm going to pull it a little tighter so that I can really make sure I'm getting those two legs. There. Okay, here we go again. I'm going to pull it tighter. See how it's really kind of pulling this down like that. So I'm going to pull it back a little bit so that I make sure I'm getting these legs here, the two legs. There. Okay, I'm at my beginning of round now. I'm going to slip that. And it says to work one round purling the garter panels and knitting the two loops of the doubled stitches together as one stitch. So there's still a bunch of those double stitches that we have not stitched together yet. So we're just going to continue forward. We're going to knit. Okay, here's one. So here's another double stitch. So I'm going to get these legs and just knit them together. Okay, here's another one. This one's better, so just go right in there, knit them together. Sorry, I did that last one pretty fast. I'll do this one slowly again. So here's my double stitch. You can see there's the double stitch, and then here's where it pulls really tight, and here's the two legs here. So I'm just knitting those legs together. So now you've reached your garter panel, and you're going to want to purl your garter panels on this round, and I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Alright, so in this round you're going to start encountering also the double stitches that you did on the wrong side, the purl side, and so they look a little different. So what it looks like is two long, or there's this long one here. See that? And then the short one, and the double is in the back here. You see the crisscross back there. So what you can do is just kind of wiggle that forward, and I just moved the long leg over top that short one. So it looks like that now, and now I'm just going to knit those two legs together. And then it falls to the back like the rest of them. And make sure you pull it a little tight as you knit your next ones. But that gap gets closed up. So here's another one. See how it's short there and it's twisted in the back. I just move this longer leg, just wiggle it a little bit over to the front here. And then I knit those two legs together. And it's hard to get, you want to definitely get your needle in here. Oh, there, into both of them. And knit them together. Okay, I am back to my beginning of round marker. I'm going to slip that marker. And now the instructions say that I am done with my short rows and we can go back to our regular pattern. So I've switched back. Now we're at the part where it says separate body and sleeves. On the next round, the body and sleeves are separated. The sleeve stitches are placed on hold or waste yarn using a darning needle, thread, waste yarn through the live sleeve stitches. Keep the beginning round marker in place. All other markers can be removed. Okay, so the next round, place and then find your number of stitches on a waste yarn. Then using the backwards loop method, cast on your number. So let's go ahead. So it's telling us to go ahead and start by putting all of the sleeve stitches on my waste yarn, and I can see just from looking at it that it's going to be all these all the way up to my first raglan stitch marker. So you're going to use your darning needle and just use any kind of scrap yarn you can find. And just cut enough for like the circumference of an arm. Okay, like that. Now, go ahead and start slipping these stitches, all of your sleeve stitches, onto this scrap yarn. And just pull it as you go. Just make sure you don't accidentally pull the yarn all the way through. You want these live stitches sitting on your scrap yarn. And you see what I'm doing? I'm just pulling them right off and on. Now, I would definitely keep your garter panel stitch markers in place. So just go ahead and slip those right on to the yarn with the rest of your stitches. Because you'll definitely want those marked when you finish your sleeves. Okay, I'm gonna put that one on too. Those are my my garter tab stitch markers. Okay, there we go. Now I'm gonna take my needle off and set it aside for a second. And here's my first raglan marker. I can remove that. And now I'm gonna very carefully move this into a position where I can tie these sleeves together. I'm gonna zoom out so you can see everything I'm doing. So here's that end, and here's this end. And you can see my sweater starting to take its shape. And I'm just gonna tie. I tie it a little tight. nice and snug. You do not want that to come undone. And then I just stuff the tail end stuff inside. Okay. There you go, your sleeve is all tied off. So now it says, using the backwards loop method, cast on, and then find how many stitches you need to cast on. Stitches, and then knit to the marker. So I need to do 8. So the backwards loop method, I'm actually going to turn this so that I'm looking at the wrong side, the purl side, and I'm going to slip my marker back really quick to here. And I'm going to use my right needle, and I'm going to slip my needle in purlwise. Then I'm going to wrap my yarn around this needle as if I'm going to purl. I'm going to pull the yarn through like I'm going to purl. I'm going to pull the yarn and twist it and put it on my left needle. Okay, so there's one. Now I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to slip my needle into the stitch as if I'm going to purl. I'm going to wrap my yarn around the needle and pull the yarn through like I'm going to purl that stitch. Then I'm going to twist the loop and put it back on my needle. There's 2. Okay, do it again. Slip my needle through as if to purl. Wrap my yarn around the needle and pull the yarn through like I'm purling, but then I'm going to twist the loop and put it back on my needle. 3. Okay. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. There we go. All right, now that I've done that, I'm gonna flip my work back over, turn my work, and I'm going to slip my beginning of round stitch marker, and I'm gonna knit. And we're going to knit across to the next raglan stitch marker, which is going to be your next set of sleeves. Okay, I'm back to my next raglan stitch marker, which means this is my last sleeve. I'm going to zoom out. Here's my last sleeve. Oh, that thing's in the way. There we go. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing we did with the other sleeve. I'm going to take some scrap yarn, wherever the end is. Where'd the end go? Oh well, here is an end. Okay, cut that. Take my darning needle and go ahead and remove this raglan stitch marker, you don't need it anymore, and start slipping all the sleeve stitches onto your scrap yarn. Here's my other raglan stitch marker. So you can remove your needle, and I'm officially done with that needle now, for now. You can remove your stitch marker, the raglan stitch marker, and now very carefully, so you don't drop any stitches, tie your yarn ends together. Cool, and then shove that in there. Okay, and you're doing the repeat, so now we're gonna go ahead and cast on with the backwards loop method your number of stitches again. Mine was 8. So remember looking at the wrong side. I'm gonna zoom in. The wrong side, and then the working yarn is on the left needle. Use your right needle. Go in as if to purl. Wrap the yarn around as if to purl. Pull the yarn through, and then twist the loop and put that stitch on your left hand needle. And that's 1. Put your needle in purlwise. Wrap the yarn around purlwise. Whoopsies, I dropped it. I'm gonna do it again. Wrap it purlwise. Pull the yarn through. Turn and slip that loop on your left needle. So that's 2. I'm gonna do 6 more for me. 3. 4. 5 and 6. That should be 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need to do 2 more for myself, I think, because I needed a total of 8. Okay, now we just turn our work again so that we're facing the right side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, okay. Now we just continue knitting like normal to the next marker. And at this point, you are now going to just continue knitting in the round for as long as your sweater requires you to. So now you're knitting the body of your sweater. So you can keep putting this over your head if you want. You can keep measuring how long you want to make it. You do not have to follow the pattern as far as the length goes. This can be totally up to you. It will not mess up your pattern in any way if you want to kind of do your own length here. So just keep on knitting, and then the next parts of this will be, let's see, twice, work in stockinette, knit every round until the body measures. Okay, and then once you get to your desired length, then you're going to want to remember to change to your smaller needle size, so that's size 6 needles, and then work your 1 by 1 ribbing, which means purl 1, knit 1, purl 1 for 1.5 inches, and then you'll bind all your stitches off. And that is how you end your sweater body. All right, everybody, thanks for watching and good luck.